My name is Brad Call. The name of the business is Call Family Distillers, and it has been in operation since October 2015. Currently, I assist Brian Call, the master distiller, with day-to-day operations, anything from distilling of spirits to sales of spirits to marketing of spirits, and then day-to-day operations within the distillery itself. Well, I've always had an interest in moonshine, just being from the area, being from Wilkes County, being a part of the Call family comes with certain notions of moonshine. So I've always been intrigued by it, although not directly involved, with it, with other things. But I've always been, fond of the history and the connection that Wilkes County in itself has with moonshine, and my generation, I've always been kind of proud of the nickname Moonshine Capital of the World, because it was something I thought was really awesome to be known for and noted for. I guess you could say that. All the stories that I've read and been told, and then obviously, as we know, my great uncle Willie Clay Call, he was a major moonshiner, and influenced a lot of the nicknaming of the county being known as Moonshine Capital of the World, in the fact that he was doing a lot of moonshining and then hauling of moonshine. So yeah. I can't think of a time that I remember in my younger years thinking I want to grow up and be making moonshine, just because of course things the market has shifted and the industry has made itself more available to these, legal craft distilleries just in the past few years. So, definitely when Brian, came to me with his original idea of, wanting to open the distillery, when he said it, it seemed like, to me, the greatest bright idea that I've ever heard, because it seemed like the timing was perfect. We, just being from the area, I'd say that yes, to answer that question, yes, we wanted to be here for that reason, the reputation that it held, whether known or unknown to a lot of people, we knew that this area, to us, had a lot of relevance to moonshine, and couldn't think of a better place to be. And of course, logistically, having your business close to home is a good thing. So, but yeah, Wilkes County's history and again, the relevance of such a high quantity of people being directly related with moonshining, it just seemed like a natural fit. My first experiences with making it were, definitely all credited to Brian. With him and wanting to start the distillery. These have been my first-hand experiences with making moonshine. As Brian will tell you, he grew up with around his dad, making it, so he's had a lot of experience in it. However, my first-hand experience was involved just when we started experimenting and working with trying to get to our product formula, with the uncatchable. So, just within the last couple years has been my experience, and it's been great, because I've always been sort of scientifically inclined, if you will. I've always been kind of interested in that stuff, in science and everything, and that's exactly what distillation is, and moonshining, I guess you could say, is science. It's a lot of chemistry and a lot of in-depth stuff like that. So it's really fun. Yeah, it was, Brian, he's had a lot of background in making moonshine, and prior to this, he was working for another legal distillery. So he had a lot of experience in that, and saw where kind of the market was at, maybe where it was headed as well, and saw a market potential there for an authentic moonshine product, because we were seeing a lot of moonshines entering the market, but what we were noticing was the lack of quality and the lack of authenticity within those products. What we started to see was it was basically just a lot of people taking vodka and putting it into a mason jar and labeling it as moonshine, and sort of misconceiving the market, the consumer there, and to what we thought was true moonshine, because true moonshine is very palatable and very smooth, and doesn't attribute itself to vodka as much as it does more of whiskey. So when we started seeing a lot of these artificial moonshines coming out, we wanted to get out there and rectify that. Yeah, so we use a process called direct steam injection. It's very different than, I'd say, the majority of other distilleries that are out there. It's a process that was started here in Wilkes County. It was, for all intents and purposes, it was invented here in Wilkes County by early moonshiners. And it involves basically heating your mash using a direct feed of steam right into the mash itself. So it alleviates any possibility of scorching the mash, and it provides for a very smooth product, which is noted in a lot of the awards that we're getting for some of our products when we're now entering into a lot of these competitions and such. No, so what we do is we ferment all of our grains. We take right now our uncatchable moonshine mash bill is a cane and grain recipe, so it involves wheat, barley malt, corn, and cane sugar. And the corn that we use is a white corn meal that we get locally from Lenny's Water Mill, which was the same place that Brian's father, Willie Clay, sourced his corn meal. So it was seemed like a good fit there, and it's a local water mill that still uses water power to do all of its grinding, so it's really awesome. Yeah, so for us, the advantages of being in a legal facility as opposed to, I'd say being in an underground facility is, we get a lot more control on our quality, I'd say. We don't have to really, time is not really of the essence, I guess, as much, when you don't have to worry about flying under the radar. So we get to take more time and care into our product. So that's definitely a plus, I guess, in my eyes. I guess what any person would argue on the other side of it is, you're paying taxes, which are pretty hefty. That being said, but it's an awesome experience. I reiterate the fact that I didn't think I would ever be involved in something like this, and kind of seeing the wave of distilleries forming throughout the country and as well as in the state of North Carolina. It's really awesome to know that we kind of got right in there on the forefront of it, and because now we're approaching almost 70 distilleries in our state. And when we started out, there was about a dozen. So there's a big increase and a big jump here lately, and everybody's got a story to tell, and our story is very unique. Coming from this area, and even the fact of how far back it goes into the 1800s, all the way back to that Reverend Daniel Houston call. So yeah, we've got a great story to tell, and can't wait to keep telling it. Yeah, I'd say it's a secret for sure. The recipe that we used was Brian's father's, Willie Clay's. So that's why it is Willie Clay calls the uncatchable sour mash moonshine. We involve, as I mentioned, our mash bill is corn, wheat, barley, and sugar. And the secret is ours to how much of that is in there. I see our moonshines going across the country to multiple different markets across the United States. We've also planned to compete in a lot of international competitions to garner a reputation for this direct steam injection distilled moonshine. We also are planning in the works, working on some whiskey and bourbon that we'll also release in the next coming months and year to compete with that market, because the whiskey bourbon market is seeing a boom right now and an increase. So we want to play into that, and we have a product that we feel is going to be very nice to put out there. It involves a backstory that goes all the way back to the 1800s, as I mentioned, the Reverend Daniel Houston call there. So it's a good story that we can't wait to tell.